It is Pushing the Limits. You might be listening on the FM/AM dial, on the World Wide Web, the Occupy Democrats Network, you name it. And I appreciate all of you joining us for what will be a very jam-packed day and a very busy show. And it seems like the news cycle just goes on and on and on with big news breaking every single day. But today's Super Tuesday, right? And to talk about that in just a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with former presidential candidate and a former Trumper. He'll be the first one to admit that, but he is certainly not a Trump supporter these days. Of course, I'm talking about also the former congressman out of Chicago, Joe Walsh. He's going to be joining us in a few minutes to talk about Super Tuesday. We'll talk about that. The Lush himself, Ronny Jackson, went on Kimberly Guilfoyle's podcast. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know. The best is yet to come. Kimberly Guilfoyle even had a podcast. But Ronny Jackson, two disgraceful people. Ronny Jackson's now going after Joe Biden's physician for reasons are unknown. I really don't know why, but we're going to play the audio for you. We'll talk a little bit about that. Jamie Raskin is trying to revive a bill with the Democrats that would disqualify insurrectionist presidents from serving. While I would be very happy if Donald Trump was not running for president of the United States, you might disagree with my opinion on this, but I think Jamie Raskin and the Democrats are making a mistake here. I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program as well. But today is Super Tuesday, right? And what does it mean for Donald Trump? What does it mean for Nikki Haley? Well, I'll tell you, I'm pretty sure this is the end of the road for Nikki Haley. If she doesn't have a good day today, which I don't think she will. I think, in my personal opinion, this is the end of Nikki Haley's political career. Now, if I had to pick between the two, I think everybody knows who I would choose. I would choose Nikki Haley. But I think this will say all you need to know about the former South Carolina governor, which is, if in fact she decides to endorse Donald Trump, which I believe she will, that's all you need to know about the Democratic Party. And I think back to 2015 and 2016, if you recall, when Donald Trump was trying to defeat Hillary Clinton, and he did, and you had people like Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, a plethora of Republicans that said he's unfit for office, he's not mentally well, every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie, he's a scumbag. I mean, all these Republicans, some of whom are running against him, we're all making statements like that, pretty much every single one of them. And then what did they do? Because so many of these MAGA Republicans have no moral compass, they endorsed Donald Trump. Why? Because it would have probably been the end of their political career if they didn't. And then I look at the Republicans out there, those that I do have respect for, not just Joe Walsh, who's going to be joining us here in a few minutes, or Anthony Scaramucci, who comes on this show quite a bit. I love the mooch. Or Amy Tarkanian, who might be joining us on the show tomorrow, the former Nevada Republican chair. There are good Republicans out there that will refuse in 2024 to support Donald Trump, and I have respect for them for doing so because they put the country first ahead of their party or staying in power. The Mitt Romneys of the world. I was right about Mitt Romney. You can disagree with his policies and some of his political stances, but Mitt Romney is a decent human being. And he is on the right side of history. And we're going to talk a little bit about Mark Cuban later on in the show as well, somebody who I also have a tremendous amount of respect for. Mark Cuban was asked who he's going to vote for, if it's Biden versus Trump, and Mark Cuban was also asked about Donald Trump, the businessman. And Cuban is a guy that I have a lot of respect for, and he was asked about that. So we're going to play that a little bit later on in the show as well because I think it's really good audio, and I have a ton of respect for Mark Cuban. So we'll be hearing from him later on in the program as well. But when it comes to Super Tuesday, the bottom line here, and I'm not breaking any news by saying this, it's going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden unless something catastrophic happens to either of them health-wise. It's going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. We've known this for quite some time now. Nikki Haley is just a small hurdle in the way for Donald Trump. And I would imagine that Donald Trump is going to pick somebody as his vice president, somebody that's not going to overshadow him. But I do believe that there are too many Republicans out there Forget about the independents and Democrats. There are too many Republicans out there, in my personal opinion. They might keep it quiet. And I'm not necessarily talking about those that are in office that want to remain in power. I'm talking about, and I use this term a lot, Reagan Republican, even though I'm not a huge Ronald Reagan guy. When I use the term Reagan Republican, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. When I use that term, it means old school Republican. Reagan Republican, old school Republican. Republicans that are not necessarily MAGA supporters, most of them are not. Most of the old school Republicans with their conservative values, even though I would question some of those values, but their conservative values. A lot of them that I talked to today are disgusted with Donald Trump. Now, a lot of them don't like Joe Biden either, but I'm talking to more and more Republicans every day that if they have to choose, they will choose Joe Biden over Donald Trump. The only way Donald Trump defeats Joe Biden is if he gets people like me. He gets independents. He gets moderate Republicans. I'm not a moderate Republican. I'm an independent that leans to the left, certainly on social issues. But the only way Donald Trump wins the Electoral College is if he gets the moderate Republicans. Sure, there are some moderate Republicans that hate Joe Biden so much that they will be voting for Donald Trump. But I can tell you, in my opinion, the overwhelming majority of the moderate Republicans out there will not be supporting Donald Trump. I'm not going to say they're going to vote for Joe Biden either, but Donald Trump needs those moderate Republicans to win. I can tell you right now, Trump is not going to win the popular vote. He lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton in 2016. He lost the popular vote miserably to Joe Biden in 2020. Why are Republicans that run for president losing the popular vote? If memory serves me right, 6 of the last presidential elections, the Democrats have overwhelmingly won the popular vote. Well, I'll tell you why. Because they're on the wrong side of history. There is a reason why there are so few minorities within the Republican Party. There is a reason why. When a Republican runs for president of the United States, they get less than 15% of the black vote. That's not by luck. It's not because these people are so uneducated. No, it's not. And, more than 6 out of 10 Americans believe in a woman's right to choose, both Republicans and Democrats. But yet so many of the far-right Republicans call themselves pro-life. Now, I don't like using that term. They're anti-abortion. But when you look at what the Alabama Supreme Court did, and when you look at many of these MAGA Republicans all across the country, they're on the wrong side of history, and that's why they keep losing the popular vote. So what does Super Tuesday mean? What does it mean for Donald Trump? What is it going to mean for Nikki Haley? What does it mean for Joe Biden and the Democrats? I figured what better person to talk about this than my friend and former congressman, former presidential candidate, and boy, do I love his podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh. The awesome Joe Walsh joining us right now. Joe, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate the time, my friend. How are you?
Anytime, Brian. I always love coming on with you, brother.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, Joe. I guess let's start off by asking you this question. What does this day, do you think, mean for Republicans and Democrats? And is this the end for Nikki Haley?
I don't think this day means anything. I don't think you and I are going to go to bed tonight and learn anything new. Mm-hmm. This has always been Trump's nomination, period. And Brian, when you really think about it, like I was on CNN this morning and it hit me. Somebody said Trump's on his way to becoming the nominee again. And I thought, my God, think about it. The guy who tried to overthrow an American election is going to be the nominee of my former party again. But it says where my party is. That was always going to be the case, and it was always going to be Biden. And I don't give a flying you-know-what if Americans don't want this matchup. Tough.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You're right. It says a lot about where the Republican Party is at today. So Trump said yesterday in a speech, I don't want to be prosecuted because I decided to do something that is very much for the good of the country and actually the good of the world. I mean, what do you make of that absurd statement?
Donald Trump was prosecuted because he's the only president in American history who lost an election and refused to participate in the peaceful transfer of power and then tried to overthrow that election.
Yeah.
He's a crybaby. He's a coward. But you know what, Brian? Like nothing he says matters. Like this is the funny thing about this election. Joe Biden has one job. Biden has to prove to the American people he's up to the job. And really, most Americans right now don't think he is. Most Americans, Democrats, think he's too damn old. That's in Biden's lap. He's got to prove it. Trump doesn't have to prove anything. Every American knows who he is. We have to prove to ourselves whether we want to be better than Trump. But Trump doesn't have to prove anything.
I would imagine you're still in contact with those that are elected officials still in office. Do you get the sense from them that, maybe those in the party, some at least, are saying, well, listen, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm a Republican, but I'm not voting for Donald Trump either? Or do you still get the sense of the base of the party wanting to remain in power, still endorsing Donald Trump?
Yeah, the base of the party, Brian, the base of the Republican Party is more solidly behind Trump than ever before. Wow. I will also say that Republican elected officials are more solidly behind Donald Trump than ever before.
How is that possible? How is that possible? It's mind-boggling to me, Joe.
I've got two theories. One, we're 3.5 years removed from all his madness. The other thing, though, Brian, is his secret sauce. Trump's secret is he's so bad, he's so corrupt, he's so much of a criminal, he's so traitorous that he doesn't just get impeached once, he gets impeached twice. He doesn't get indicted once, he gets indicted 4 times, 91 felony counts. So much is thrown against the wall against him that even good people begin to think, oh my God, he really is the biggest victim in all of humanity. I think a lot of people have bought into that.
Yeah, that's really sad. If you're just joining us, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh joining us. So, Joe, let's talk a little bit about Nikki Haley. I kind of stole this from you on your social media a few months back, and you said, listen, all the bad things that Trump has said about Nikki Haley, about her husband, if Nikki Haley still decides to endorse Donald Trump when this is all over, we can't take anything she says seriously ever again. And I agree with you, and I've been echoing that. So with that being said, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you believe Nikki Haley in the end will be endorsing Donald Trump?
Yes, I've always thought she will. I don't think that as strongly right now, Brian, because of what you and I have listened to the last month. Right. I mean, she has sounded almost like Joe Walsh or Liz Cheney on the trail. But I still expect her to endorse him because Nikki Haley, I think, still wants to be a Republican. If you want to be a viable Republican, you have to endorse him.
Yeah.
I could be proven wrong, but I still think that's where she is.
I agree. I think she's going to endorse him because she knows that if she doesn't, her political career is over. By the way, I think it's over anyway, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Here's where maybe we'll disagree on this. I don't know. I know a lot of Democrats might disagree with me on this. I think Jamie Raskin and the Democrats are making a mistake with trying to revive this bill for the, insurrectionist presidents. Listen, do I think that Donald Trump incited the insurrection? Absolutely, 100%. But it's very difficult legally to prove. And I think that's why Jack Smith didn't charge him with that. And I think if the Democrats just focus on this, or at least focus on this more than they should be, instead of getting Joe Biden to win an election and defeat Donald Trump, I think they're going to be in trouble. What do you make of this?
Agreed. The highest court in the land ruled. I didn't like the ruling, Brian. In fact, I signed an amicus brief with other former Republicans saying that Trump should be kicked off the ballot. But as Americans, we accept court rulings we don't like, just like, by the way, we accept election results we don't like. Yeah, I agree with you. Now it looks too political from Democrats. Move on, and damn it, beat him in November.
What do you make of the investigation by Republicans, James Comer, Jim Jordan, falling in their face when it comes to this former FBI informant and making a mockery of this whole situation and the questioning of Hunter Biden? I thought Eric Swalwell did a great job. What do you make of the shenanigans, the fact that Hunter Biden didn't plead the fifth once? Do you think that, I would imagine you would agree with me that the Republicans should have put this to bed a long time ago. But why do they keep pursuing this? Because, again, it appears to me they have no evidence, just like Trump had no evidence he won the 2020 election. They have no evidence that Joe Biden's committed any crimes.
and they told us this, Brian, right? The Republicans told us if they get control of the House, it'll be a 2-year revenge tour, revenge for how they believe Trump was treated. So that's all they've done. And at the top of that list was, we have to impeach Joe Biden. There was never anything there. They did what they did for Trump. But the sad, scary thing is that most Republican base voters believe that there is something there. So Comer and the rest of them now can slink away quietly, but it's been set in the base, just like the 2020 election was stolen. That narrative has now been set with the base.
Couple more quick questions for you, Joe. I want to focus on Russia and Vladimir Putin. What did you make of Liz Cheney last week when she said there was a far right Putin wing of the party? Would you agree with that?
No, I disagree with her vehemently. It's bigger than a wing. It's not just a wing. Most of the base is pro-authoritarian, thereby pro-Putin, pro-Orban. This is where the base of the party is. So I agree, but it's bigger than just a wing.
Agree. Last question for you. Obviously, we agree the person that Navalny was obviously a hero, and he lost his life because of it. Now, what do you make of the fact that we are learning that those who even attended the funeral and those that were anywhere around the funeral showing any bit of support for Navalny, now Russian officials are arresting these people, and God knows how long they're going to be behind bars. We're hearing stories every day of new arrests that are made. What do you make of this evil, murderous regime? And yet so many on the far right wing of the party, as you say, it's more than just a wing, that seem to want Russia to win, defend Vladimir Putin, and call Zelensky and those in the Ukraine Nazis. I mean, it even gets worse than that, some of the verbiage being used.
Hey, Brian, I just want to know if what Tucker Carlson's going to say about this. Yeah. I'm really curious. And I don't know, Bri, is Tucker still in that Moscow grocery store?
Buying the bread,
buying the bread or playing with the shopping carts. We laugh, but to what you and I are talking about, Tucker speaks for the base. Trump speaks for the base. And I'll leave you with this thought. I go on the BBC a lot. I do a lot of European media because they just don't understand what's happening here. If Donald Trump becomes president, think about this. Screw Ukraine. Trump will openly root for, pull for, and work for Putin and Russia in this war.
Agree.
I'm serious.
Agree. He's never said anything negative about Vladimir Putin, and I don't think he ever will. Joe Walsh, it is always a pleasure having you on the show. You're a breath of fresh air. I'm waiting for CNN to hire you to get your own show. I'd be watching it. I'd be watching. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you, my friend. You take care, Joe. I love that guy, Joe Walsh. I mean that, by the way. He needs to get his own show on CNN. That guy's great. Very intelligent, very articulate. Quite frankly, I wish he was still in office. Listen, I don't always agree with him on policy. We've gotten into it on gun control and other issues, even on the abortion issue. But he's a reasonable man, and he's what I would call these days a Reagan Republican. Even though he was pro Donald Trump back in 2016. Hey, so was Chris Christie. In a way, so was Anthony Scaramucci. These guys have turned the table. They're on the right side of history now, and that's all that I could ask for. And I think Joe's a great guy, and I always appreciate it. He's been doing my show for years now, and Joe's the best. I really love Joe Walsh. It is interesting because Joe was talking a little bit about, do you remember the video that Tucker the Fifth, the white supremacist himself, Tucker Carlson, did where he's going in the supermarket and he's talking about how great these escalators are and look at this fresh bread, and he's praising Russia. Meanwhile, as we speak right now, Russian troops are raping women in the Ukraine, murdering people. And again, while all that's going on, they are making arrests of people who attended Alexei Navalny's funeral. They didn't make arrests that day, but they've been making arrests ever since the funeral. And while all that's going on, Tucker Carlson isn't reporting on any of that stuff. No. Tucker's reporting on how fresh the bread is in the supermarkets and how lovely the architecture is. This is a base of the Republican Party, make no mistake about it, that supports and is rooting for Vladimir Putin. How can you have a reasonable conversation with anybody who feels that way? And again, while all this stuff is going on, Ronny Jackson appeared on Kimberly Guilfoyle's podcast. And again, I didn't even know that Kimberly Guilfoyle had a podcast. And I wouldn't watch it, but I did see a clip on social media. Ronny Jackson saying that Biden's doctor is a terrible physician. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up. Have a listen to this.
guys like I don't have any real respect for him. He's not really a good physician, I would say, but he was part of the Biden family, and that's why he ended up staying there for 8 years during that. But he will do or say anything to cover up for the Bidens. I think there's a cover up going on here, and if he was not covering something up, he should have got up with the objective information before the cameras in the press briefing room and defended the physical exam and defended why he did not do a cognitive exam in front of the press like I did. As you remember, I was up there for an hour and a half in front of the press, taking every single question they possibly had until they exhausted themselves,
which was
and had
amazing.
nothing left to ask me.
It was powerful. It was just phenomenal television to watch.
Yeah, phenomenal television to watch. Listening to Ronny Jackson defend Donald Trump's morbidly obese body and saying how he was Superman. Yes, it was wonderful television. First of all, when you have a physician doing a press conference, it's not about wonderful television or ratings, you stupid idiot, Kimberly Guilfoyle, you stupid ditz, you pathetic excuse for a human being, you disgusting human being, you alien you. It's not about great TV, it's about being honest. Now, here are the types of things that Kimberly Guilfoyle would not address Ronny Jackson with, and it's why Ronny Jackson would never do this show, because I would ask him about this. He apparently bullied subordinates, broke alcohol rules because he's a raging alcoholic. But, hey, let's go after Hunter Biden, who never worked in Joe Biden's administration, for having drug and substance abuse issues. This is a Pentagon report. It's not a liberal Democrat report. It's a Pentagon report that Ronny Jackson would show up to work drunk with alcohol in his breath, bullying some of the employees there. Also, a report said that the former White House physician made inappropriate comments about a female subordinate, then got drunk and banged on her door in the middle of the night on March 3rd, 2021. But you won't hear Kimberly Guilfoyle talk about that. Let me be very clear. Ronny Jackson has no idea what Joe Biden's health is, because that's not Joe Biden's physician. Joe Biden's physician is the guy that Ronny Jackson is attacking. Ronny Jackson got up during a press conference, and even though it was proven that Donald Trump's weight, he is, quote, medically morbidly obese, but yet somehow that meant Donald Trump was in great physical condition and great shape. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did you hear him wheezing and struggling to breathe when he got home after COVID? But Ronny Jackson wants to go after Joe Biden's physician. Why? Well, for starters, because Ronny Jackson wears the Donald Trump knee pads, and that's all they care about. Just get Donald Trump elected. Just like so many of the other quote-unquote medical professionals out there that just want to make their TV appearances and sell their books and make money. Peter McCullough is one of the few doctors out there that those on the far right go to talk about the vaccines, even though he is not an infectious disease expert. He is a heart doctor. He is not an infectious disease expert. But why does he go on social media? And why does he go on OAN, Newsmax, and Fox News saying how dangerous the vaccines are? Why? One reason. Money. Because he's an author. See, these people on Fox News and OAN, they won't interview real doctors and infectious disease experts that are on the front lines every day. It's always somebody that's trying to sell a book and make money. So you'll find several of these doctors out there that'll be anti-vaccine, that'll say things just so they'll continue to make appearances on these ridiculous right-wing networks so that they could sell their books. Peter McCullough is one of them, and I emailed him, and he's like, well, I got a lot of patients this next week. I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I guarantee you if I was OAN or Newsmax, he'd be coming on for an hour, because that's who these a-holes are, and Ronny Jackson is another one of them. He's the one that is playing politics, and he's the one that is attacking Joe Biden's doctor. Ronny Jackson has no idea what Joe Biden's health is. Ronny Jackson has no clue, because he was the doctor for the morbidly obese man, Donald Trump, that he made out to be Superman. And it is a joke, and it is disgusting. And Ronny Jackson, the lush himself, who harassed his own employees and showed up to work drunk, he should worry about himself. You want to talk about credibility. The president's doctor who showed up drunk to work and harassed female employees, that's the guy that we should be hearing from? Give me a frickin' break. Peter McCullough, a guy who makes heart doctor, by the way, not infectious disease doctor. That's the guy who we want to hear about, talking about the vaccines and ivermectin and how dangerous the vaccines might be, so that he can sell books and that he can make money. Same thing with Candace Owens and Leo Terrell And these types of media, Tommy Lauren, they make their appearances and they say ridiculous, crazy things so that they can make money. That is what they do. And I've had it, quite frankly, with all of them. But I haven't had it with all of you. Well, maybe some of you. I'm going to open up the phone lines now. Get your thoughts on this Super Tuesday. And also 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, that number is 702-221-7283. And when we come back, I will be explaining why I disagree with Jamie Raskin. And I disagree with Democrats and what they're trying to do, which is this reviving this bill that would disqualify an insurrectionist president from serving. I do think that Jamie Raskin and the Democrats are making a mistake, and I'll explain why when we come back, and also take your phone calls. Again, that number, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We'll take your phone calls when we come back. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fun account and stay progressive.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Super Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot to get to today, of course. Talking about, we just had Joe Walsh on the line, former presidential candidate and former congressman out of Chicago. Love having Joe on the show. And I think we all know what's going to happen here, right? Nikki Haley's going to bow out of the race, probably the end of her political career. I say probably. There's still a chance that she can have some sort of political career. And, everyone's going to get out of the way, and she's probably going to endorse Donald Trump, even though all the despicable things that Trump has said about her and her husband. That's most likely what's going to happen here. I got to tell you this before I take calls. And by the way, the number to call, 702-221-7283. Some of you might disagree with me on this, but listen, do I want Donald Trump on the ticket? Of course I don't. He's a threat to our democracy. He's a despicable human being. He's a criminal. I think anybody who knows me knows I don't want him on the ticket. However, do I think that he incited the January 6th insurrection? Absolutely. Why? If Trump doesn't say the election was stolen, if Trump doesn't say Joe Biden and the Democrats cheated, January 6th never happened. People died that day and days and weeks and months after. However, there's a reason why Jack Smith, who I, by the way, have a lot of respect for, there's a reason why Jack Smith didn't charge him with insurrection, because it's very difficult to be able to prove in court. Do I believe he incited? Absolutely. But I'm talking about the law, and I don't believe that it's easy to prove that. So with that being said, Jamie Raskin is trying to revive this insurrectionist president bill. And I think you're going down the wrong rabbit hole. I think what Democrats should focus more on how to defeat Donald Trump, not take him off the ballot. That's my personal opinion. And we'll have some Jamie Raskin audio to play for you in a little bit, but I do want to take some phone calls first. Get your thoughts on that. 702-221-7283. We're getting your thoughts on that. We're getting your thoughts on this Super Tuesday, this very busy news day. We just had Joe Walsh on the line. Ronny Jackson's comments about Joe Biden's doctor. There's a lot to talk about. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to ask you, well, first of all, I had 2 points. My first one was a question. Did you read the Rolling Stone report that came out yesterday that said that Ronny Jackson helped the White House become awash in Xanax and speed, and there was even fentanyl prescribed?
Yes, I didn't read the article, but a friend of mine had told me about it, to what you told me, and it's despicable, right? I mean, Ronny Jackson has zero credibility, and he's the last person who should be attacking anybody, including Joe Biden's physician. The only reason why Ronny Jackson is making this stupid appearance on Kimberly Guilfoyle's podcast is, again, so he can try to remain relevant, try to make money, try to make appearances. That's the only reason why he's doing it. But again, that stuff doesn't surprise me, what Rolling Stone reported, because Ronny Jackson, again, is the guy who apparently showed up drunk to work and was sexually harassing female employees.
My goodness, I didn't know that about the harassment.
Yeah, so the Pentagon put out a report. Notice how I didn't even say Democrats, because Republicans will lead you to believe, oh, it was the Democrats that did this. It was a hit piece. No, it wasn't. The Pentagon actually had an investigation, and the report on a presidential trip says that the former White House physician made very inappropriate sexual comments to a female subordinate, then got drunk and banged on her door in the middle of the night of March 3rd, 2021. That's who Ronny Jackson is.
Jeez.
Yeah. Those are the types of people that Donald Trump surrounds himself with, and those are the types of people that Donald Trump hires. But, he only hires the best people.
Right. Well, my second question is, I don't know if you know or who knows, but isn't Trump going to start receiving intel briefings if he gets the nomination today?
I believe that is true, which is quite frankly a threat to this country, in my personal opinion. Anybody who's not willing to call out Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un for who they are is a danger to this nation, in my personal opinion. What does Vladimir Putin have on Donald Trump? I don't understand it. I'm not saying you have to go on a stage every day and call him a murderer, but at the same time, he coddles to Vladimir Putin. And Joe Walsh made a really good point last segment. If Donald Trump gets back into office, it's the end of Ukraine. It's the end of Taiwan. It's the end of us in NATO if Donald Trump gets back into office.
Well, I agree with all of that. He's a huge threat, and he's in serious debt. And he has Viktor Orban coming from Hungary coming this Friday. And, world leaders like that,
Yeah.
if he's going to be meeting with him and he has intel briefings because he's going to be the nominee, I think we're all terrified.
I don't know. Yeah, listen, I'm worried. I am definitely worried. I wouldn't say I'm terrified. I'll be terrified if he wins the presidency again. Then I think it's time to be terrified. But right now, I would say I'm worried, but I'm not terrified. I'm not at that point yet, if that makes sense, all right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
It's hard not to be.
I understand.
But thank
Hey,
you.
I understand, and I appreciate your phone call, my man. Thank you so much. So it's interesting. I wanted to play a little bit of audio from Mark Cuban before we get back to the phone calls because, these right-wing idiots out there that want to say that Trump is this wonderful businessman and deal maker, Mark Cuban just puts that talking point on the right to shreds. Have a listen to Mark Cuban talking about Donald Trump, who some call a great businessman.
Trump, what do you think? Like, I mean, he keeps climbing.
You know what? It's rare when you see somebody get stupider before your eyes, but he's really working at it. And so you got to give him credit. It's not an easy thing to do, but he's accomplished it.
Well, he says that he'll make a good president because he's strong in business and a great negotiator.
Well, let's look at it this way. Name one good deal he's done.
I can't.
Neither can he. Right? When he talks about his great renegotiations, they're renegotiations. So tell me if you think this is a good deal. I lose 4 casinos. They go out of business. But I'm really good at renegotiating the debt of my companies who have already gone out of business. He'd get kicked out of Shark Tank so fast it'd make your head spin.
Have you spoken to him or anything?
None last month. He sent me an email when I started picking on him. What happened was, I really didn't like Ted Cruz. So I started helping Donald and, encouraging him because I thought he'd be, and to this day, I think he'd be a better candidate than Ted Cruz. I'm obviously not a Ted Cruz fan.
Okay.
But at some point, you got to start learning and understanding the issues. Donald's been in this a year, and you don't look at him and say, wow, he's gotten so much smarter about this topic or that topic. In fact, you look at him and say, what the hell are you talking about? And so that's not good for America. So, and that's why I've looked at it. In the past, when people ask me about political questions, I'd be like, no, there's no point in talking about it. But now it's so crazy that if somebody in the middle doesn't speak up, some topics don't get covered.
So that was years ago. Now, Mark Cuban is even more anti-Donald Trump now than he ever was, but he's right. Mark Cuban knew this about him years ago. Here's a guy who lost his casinos, but he's such a great negotiator because he's negotiating all the debt that they owe. I don't know. People that say Donald Trump is this great businessman, the art of the deal is a joke. All right, let's get back to the phone calls now. The number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Trey. Trey is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Trey.
Yes, sir.
What can I do for you?
Donald Trump is a mastermind genius.
I'm sorry, he's a what, sir? Come again?
He's a mastermind genius.
He's a mastermind genius.
Y'all bunch
Okay.
of idiots.
Okay.
For voting for Biden.
Okay.
Retarded.
Okay, so
But-
first of all, we're not going to use that type of language. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. If you're serious and you think Donald Trump is, sir, are you capable of having an intellectual conversation, or not? Because if you're not, then I'll move on.
I'm listening to you.
Okay, thank you. Well,
I'm
you were
listening to
you
you.
were laughing like a child.
Yeah.
I would ask for the same respect that I'm giving you. So let's have a conversation. So you said that Donald Trump is a mastermind. What has he done in his life can you name me something he's done in his life that would lead you to believe that he's a mastermind and he's brilliant? Give me an example.
First of all, he's a billionaire.
I didn't ask.
He's
Okay, so sir, pot him down. So sir, his father gave him a $500 million company. He can't even afford the money that he owes, whether it be E. Jean Carroll or the $400 million suit. He was only able to put up $100 million. So no, sir, he is not a billionaire, so you're off to a very poor start. His father also handed him a $500 million company. And by the way, just because you have a lot of money or your father gives you a lot of money does not mean that you're brilliant. So that's okay. You failed on that example, but I'll give you another shot, sir. Can you give me another example or reason why you would call Donald Trump brilliant? Go ahead, sir.
Can you give me a reason why?
You don't answer a question with a question, and the question wasn't about Joe Biden. I'll answer your question after you answer mine. If you're not smart enough to answer, then we'll move on. I'm going to ask you the same question again. That means, sir, you have to listen because the first answer you gave was not an answer, and it was factually inaccurate. So I'm going to ask you again, and then here's how it works. You answer my question, then I'll answer your question. Because, by the way, I haven't said Joe Biden is brilliant, and he's a Rhodes Scholar. I think he's a decent, good man, but we'll get to that in a moment. Please answer my question. Give me an example. Sir, I need you to listen. This is how a conversation works. You answer my questions, then I answer yours, okay? So we're going to try this again. You started off this conversation by saying Donald Trump is brilliant. Can you please give me an actual evidence or at least something that he has done in his life that you would consider brilliant? Go ahead.
Oh, wait. They're closing the border. That's number one.
Okay, so
that's number
pot him down
one.
again. So you think Donald Trump is brilliant because he closed the border. So, sir, a little factual information for you, a little tidbit. Donald Trump did not close the border when he was president. So I'm not sure what that means, sir. In fact, he said he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. He built 16% of the wall and Mexico didn't pay for it. So, sir, I've now asked you twice why you think Donald Trump is brilliant. You said because he's a billionaire, which he's not. Then your second answer was he closed the border, which he didn't. So you failed miserably with your two answers. I'm feeling very generous today, sir, because you sound like a very intelligent person. So now I'm going to ask you. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah,
I'm intelligent.
You sound
I'm
very
intelligent.
Yeah, you sound very educated, sir. You sound like MAGA Trump's base. So now I'm going to ask you for the third time. What has Donald Trump done in his life, or even when he was president, that would lead you to believe that he's quote unquote brilliant? Can you please answer the question, sir?
No, open border is a
Okay, sir, I think you need to go on your medication today. You sound like a really smart guy. Now, I will answer your stupid question, even though you're an imbecile and you can't answer mine. Okay? Why do I support Joe Biden? Why will I vote for Joe Biden? Well, I'll start by saying this. Joe Biden's not facing 91 felony counts. Joe Biden cooperates with the FBI during an investigation. Joe Biden is a happily married man. His son, late son Beau, is a hero who served this country honorably. Joe Biden's never been a liable rapist. Joe Biden hasn't had to face thousands of lawsuits. None of Joe Biden's companies have filed for bankruptcy. Joe Biden hasn't attacked minorities and said Mexicans were rapists. Joe Biden hasn't called our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers. Joe Biden didn't attack John McCain. In fact, Joe Biden was friends with John McCain. It was Donald Trump who said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. Joe Biden doesn't attack women on looks. So, sir, I gave you a bunch of different reasons why I will be voting for Joe Biden. Don't get me wrong, sir. You've said a lot of intelligent things in this phone call. And like I said, you sound like an extremely intelligent person. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I am intelligent.
Yeah,
I'm intelligent
you
enough
sound very
to die.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the phone call. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Donald Trump's base. They're very stupid. They don't know how to have a conversation. They don't have a very high IQ. They say things and they have nothing to back it up. This guy is so dumb. He says that maybe compared to Donald Trump is a genius compared to this guy who called in, because obviously he's not very bright. I was being facetious. They called Donald Trump brilliant. And then when I ask somebody why, what has he done, they can't come up with anything. I mean, even I could lie and try to come up with things. Thank you for the call, sir. I really appreciate it. That's MAGA Donald Trump's base. He loves the unintelligent. 702-221-7283 is the call. And again, the number if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. All right, let's go to Julie. Julie's next. What's up, Julie?
Hello, Brian. Yes, I would like to ask you a question. Do you know how many jobs have been created through Trump Hotel?
Do I know how many jobs were created through Trump Hotel? So, Julie,
yes.
So, Julie, if I'm going to continue to keep taking your calls, we need to be on topic, okay? You can have differences of opinion than me, and that's totally okay.
I am on topic.
Okay, no, we're not talking about Donald Trump.
You ask what makes Trump successful.
Okay, first of all, I didn't ask that. Donald Trump is not successful, and I never asked that.
Is successful.
Okay, a caller called into this show, and he called Donald Trump brilliant, which clearly he is not.
He's brilliant.
He's a good negotiator. He's a good negotiator. So if his businesses
Absolutely.
if his businesses file for bankruptcy, like what Mark
Bankruptcy is not a crime.
Okay.
Many Americans have filed
Okay,
for bankruptcy.
so you're not letting me. You're not letting me. You're not letting me. You're not letting me. You're not letting me finish.
What's the
Julie, you're
problem
not
with
letting me.
bankruptcy?
Julie, you're
Go
not letting.
ahead.
Julie, you're not letting me finish the sentence. You interrupted me. So first of all, let's be very clear on this. Donald Trump received a $500 million company from his father. He claims that he is a billionaire.
No.
Hold on. No. You're interrupting me.
1 billion.
You're
1 million.
No, you don't know what you're talking about, Julie, and I can't.
No, I know what I'm talking
Pot her
about.
down.
You don't know what.
No, you don't. Donald Trump did not receive a $1 million company from his dad. All you have to do is a simple Google search to figure that out, and it's not my fault, Julie. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? That's not my fault. Now I'm going to finish my sentence. I potted you down so you don't interrupt me again. Donald Trump received a $500 million business from his father. That's number one. Number two, look at all the companies where he had to file bankruptcy and all the sham businesses that he's had, like Trump University, okay? There's a reason why Donald Trump didn't want to show his tax returns, even though it wouldn't matter to somebody like you because you don't know how to spell the word fact. Many of Donald Trump's businesses have filed for bankruptcy, but you want to try to prove because he hired some people. By the way, some of those people were illegals, Julie. I don't know if you realize that. Because he hired people to work in his hotels, many of them that have filed for bankruptcy, like Taj Mahal, for example, and others. You're trying to make the case that he's brilliant because he hired people. In that case, I guess Joe Biden is brilliant too, right, Julie? Because he's hired a bunch of people to work in his administration. So I guess Joe Biden is brilliant as well. You say that he's a great negotiator. Let me be very clear, Julie. This isn't The Apprentice. This is actual real-life stuff. This isn't a TV show, okay? He's such a great negotiator and he's so smart, then why couldn't he prove that the 2020 election was stolen? If he's so smart, why did he lose the 2020 election? Why did he lose the popular vote to the first female ever to run for president? If he's so smart, why did he miserably get embarrassed? Why is he facing 91 felony counts? Why did he lose to E. Jean Carroll? Why has he lost thousands, literally thousands of civil lawsuits? If you're a smart and good businessman, why would you get sued thousands of times and lose? But you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on the fact that he hired some people to work in some of his hotels. Julie, do you realize how ridiculous you sound when you make those claims?
Brian, you don't want to talk about facts. You are
what did I
only
say
talking
that's
about
not a
propaganda.
fact? What did I
Biden
say?
is not a
What did I
decent
say
man.
that what did I say that's not
do
true?
you-
Julie, you just said I don't want to talk about facts. That's a quote from Julie. What did I just say that is not a fact? Go.
Do you remember Rosa Montoya who expressed his breast in the
Julie,
White House?
Julie,
The
Julie, I
company
need you to focus,
and the
Julie.
porno
Julie,
game?
pot her down again. Julie, I need you to focus. This is the point, Julie. Pot her down.
You are an
How'd you like to be married to
You don't
Julie?
know it.
Pot her down again.
You are
Pot her
a-
down. Pot her down again.
you
Pot her
are
down.
a
Pot her down. Pot her
You're
down.
a
Pot her down
stupid
again.
Brian.
Pot her down again.
You are a propagandist.
Pot her down again.
Anything.
Pot her down again.
American.
Can we make a mixtape out of this? Maybe, I don't know. How'd you like to be married to Julie? So Julie,
Traitor.
okay, pot her down for real this time. So Julie, you just said on this show that I don't like to speak facts,
That's
leading
the
me to
point you make.
believe. Boy, she doesn't stop talking.
Friends,
does she?
can you
Put a
get-
gag in her mouth, will you?
Brian,
Maybe her husband does that.
you are screaming at me.
Boy, she
and
really
we-
is mentally ill.
because you are
So,
an
Julie, I'm
idiot,
going to try to ask you a question before I hang up on you, Julie. If you're capable of answering a question, that'd be great.
So
Just like the last MAGA caller who called into this show.
You are a
So, Julie, you said I don't like to talk about facts. Is she still talking? Julie, you just said I don't like to talk about. All right, get rid of her. I can't take it anymore. What a lunatic. The question that I was going to ask Julie was, you just said I don't like to talk about facts. The question that I was trying to ask her was, what did I say that's not a fact? Okay. Donald Trump, thousands of civil lawsuits, many of his businesses filed for bankruptcy. You say he's a great negotiator. Negotiating what? How many layers of orange makeup he puts on his face every morning? Negotiating what? With his ex-wives? Financial agreements? Like, I don't understand when people make statements like that. By the way, Julie said on this show that Donald Trump's father only gave him a $1 million business. That's also not true. It was just short of $500 million, but I'm not shocked that Julie has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Deb. Deb is next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Deb.
Hey, hi. I favor left, but I was talking to a chiropractor that I adore, and she was saying, because I was thinking, wow, Medicare is kind of cool, but she said that the government, is horrible. They pay you what they want, and they tell you what you should have done, and that's that. So, do you know about that side?
I don't actually, but I will say this, and maybe you'll agree or disagree with me, Deb, but the last two MAGA callers that have called into the show, and listen, they're welcome to call in. Obviously, if they don't make any sense, I'm not going to keep them on very long.
Right.
But let's be honest here. This is important. That's Trump's base. Trump's base, for the most part, are not educated people. These are middle America people that are uneducated, not very bright, do nothing for society. And they're very difficult to have conversations with.
I know, and they're my neighbors who are, regulars. I'm gay, and I met this gay chick online, and she's a Republican. And oh my God, the first day we were just screaming in her driveway.
I don't understand that. Help me understand this. Most in the Republican Party, if they have it their way, they don't want gay people to vote. They don't want gay people to marry one another. They want gay people to be treated differently. They want them to be discriminated against. Two gay people come into my bakery. I'm not going to bake a cake for you. Oh, why's that? Well, my religion tells me that. They hide behind their religion, and they're bigots. I don't understand how anybody who happens to be gay would vote for a Republican. I really don't understand that. I had in my career, I've had a 20-year career, so I've had a lot of program directors. I worked at a conservative radio station, and the guy that was my immediate boss, gay, a staunch Republican, and I always wanted to go up to him and say, how is it possible that you could be a staunch Republican and you're gay? Listen, if you don't want to vote Democrat, that's fine, but how can you vote Republican when this is one of my good friends, okay, Evan Stone, he happens to be a porn star, right? And I got him to be more in the middle. He used to be a far-right Republican. I said, you wouldn't have even had a career in the porn industry if not for, Democrats are the ones that saved your career. They want you to live your life and be a porn star and be who you are. Republicans are the ones. You like Mike Johnson, the GOP House Speaker, the nut job that he is? Oh, my God. If an adult man looks at a naked woman's body in a magazine, it's blasphemy. But let's vote for that liable rapist. I mean, I don't understand these people. I really don't. I want people to live their life, be who you are. If you like porn, watch porn so long as it's legal. I don't care. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight because I'm going to treat you the same. And so many of these Republicans are so anti-drag queen reading. They're anti-gay. You know what they are? They're bigots is what they are. If you don't think two men should marry each other or two women should marry each other because you're against it, you're a bigot. It's not your religion. You are a bigot. And I call them that every chance I get.
Thank you. And another thing, church and state, my God, for God's sake, are you kidding me? That's unconstitutional, and they play that every day.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, we got the GOP House Speaker who, I don't know if you heard about this, he had this app program. It's called Your Accountability Partner. He monitored if his son was watching porn on his phone or computer. Yeah, that sounds like a really normal human being. Let me tell you something, Mike. How'd you like to have sexual relations with Mike Johnson? I'm sure that would be very exciting. Holy smokes! But you know what? I will say this: the people that are the ultra religious, the people that talk about sin, are usually the people that sometimes are the craziest in the bedroom because they're hypocrites. So
the kinkiest.
Yeah, exactly. I bet Mike Johnson makes love to his Donald Trump blow-up doll every night before he goes to sleep. And he makes his wife watch. That's what I think. And his son is, that's what I think. I mean, I could be wrong on that. Hey, it's good to hear from you. Thank you for the phone call. And you call back anytime. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Are there Donald Trump blow-up dolls? I don't know. Who should we ask? Let's ask Ted Cruz. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Who do we got next on the line? Who's next? Gary? Gary, what's going on, man? Gary, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
first of all, I didn't call on Monday because Chris Wynn is there. I don't want you guys ganging up on me and beating me up and stuff.
Nobody is beating up on you, Gary. What do you got for me today?
All right, there's a rumor behind the scenes. I can't reveal my sources, but is it true that the right-wing radio show hosts in this town have been offered to go and debate you on your show, and they declined? Are they hypocrites and chicken littles, or what?
Okay, come again, Gary. Who is a hypocrite? Who are you claiming is a hypocrite? Who declined?
I don't want to say any names because I'm in the middle of this political spectrum, and I enjoy a lot of these right-wing shows. The locals here, you know who they are. Yeah. They will not go on your show.
Oh, I know that. I know that.
And debate you.
Yeah, because they're cowards. They're cowards. That's why. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, but what are they afraid of, Brian? What are they afraid of?
Because I'm going to make them look stupid. That's why. Because I'm smarter than they are, and I have.
There's something else going on.
No, I'll tell you.
In the radio world.
No, I'm going to tell you what it is. 99% of talk radio is conservative. Now, if you listen to, forget about these local schmucks who can't even get 3 phone calls, Gary. And you know which shows I'm talking about in Las Vegas. They can't even get more than 3 or 4 calls. And if they do get 3 or 4 calls, it's the same calls every day.
That is factually incorrect, Brian.
Oh, okay. So
that is factually. I listen to them.
Okay,
all.
so
some.
Hold on.
Don't take any
hold on.
phone calls.
Right, because they can't get calls. But let me ask you a question, Gary. Which show in Las Vegas takes 2 hours straight of calls every day?
Quite a few local ones.
Name me one show that's capable of taking 2 straight hours of phone calls every day.
Our best buddy that I have criticism, more criticism of him than you do. You're talking about the notorious Mr. War that never even joined the Boy Scouts.
Not true. He doesn't even open up phone lines. So, Gary, you're factually inaccurate because he doesn't take phone calls. And the show he's on and the station he's on is last in the ratings book.
Right.
So now let's move on.
Corrected.
So now let's
stand corrected.
Yes, you're incorrect. So now let's move on here, Gary, and let me answer your question.
I don't see what they're afraid of you
Hold
for.
on. Let me answer. Let me tell you why. So
I wanted to tell you why.
The reason why a lot of these right-wing conservatives, and some of them do come on my show, and I appreciate that, because we have respectful conversations. Mike Lee, the former North Las Vegas mayor, we had a nice conversation. He was in studio for an hour and a half.
You're bending the truth all the time, and I want to tell you about it.
Gary, the reason why they
won't. I don't want to be like Julie.
The reason why they won't come on is because they're cowards and they're in their right-wing echo chamber. These talk shows don't interview liberals. They don't interview Democrats. And
can I give you an
Do I interview more? Do I interview more Republicans or Democrats on this show, Gary? Who do I?
I got you really going.
Well, who do I interview more?
Me trying to have a conversation with you and Chris Wynn.
Gary, I'm trying to answer your question. Why is it that
it's taking a half an hour?
I interview more Republicans than Democrats on this show because I'm not afraid to have
But
interaction.
I'm not getting to my main point.
Okay, get to your main point. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm not trying to take up 10 minutes of your show. I want to see where you're wrong a lot of times. The other day, nobody could call you up that's, really educated about this stuff. Blue states have less crime. Brian, they have less crime because they're not arresting anybody. And everything is corrupted in the blue states. There's more crime in the blue states.
So where's your evidence?
And I'll tell you what,
where's your evidence, Gary? Gary,
you're making me yell.
Gary, where is your evidence that in the blue states they just
I
don't
know where
arrest?
we're going to go.
Gary, I
this
need
is
you
my
to.
complaint.
Gary,
we're other people who can give
Gary,
you those facts.
you got to let me finish asking my question before you interrupt me. Where is your evidence that quote unquote in the blue states they don't arrest people? Where is your evidence to make a ridiculous claim like that? Where's your evidence, Gary? Give it to me.
Substituted for something a little less. You talk about radio shows and TV and...
Bottom down again. Gary, I just asked you a question and you're not answering it. So I'm going to ask it again. You just made the claim, and yesterday on the show I said the murder rates are up in red states, not blue states. You just made the claim the reason why is because they're not arresting people. Where is your evidence that in blue states they're just deciding not to arrest serious criminals? Where's your evidence of that it's happening in all the blue states? Because that's what you said, right?
If I start sending you $5, I want my $5 worth.
All right, so you don't have any evidence, Gary. You're just making a claim, throwing it at a wall, and hope it sticks. Gary, that doesn't work on this show. It will work, though, if you call into your conservative radio shows that don't get any calls, except you maybe. It will work on those shows where you could make a claim like that, and Wayne Allen Root or whoever the hell other clowns you listen to will agree with you. Oh, yeah, Gary, you're 100% right, and won't challenge you on your stupid takes. When you're going to make a claim like that, you have to have evidence to back it up. And obviously you don't. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Edward. Edward is next. What's up, Edward? Edward, are you there, my friend? I think Edward is listening to the radio. What song is that? It's a good song. Edward, are you there? All right. Say goodbye to Edward. Edward, I gave you a chance. Okay. That's a good little mixtape. I've had enough. All right. Number to call, by the way, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. We ask that if you do call in, there is about a 5 or 6 second delay because we are on live radio. So you have to be prepared when you call into a show to do that. We are going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to get back into Super Tuesday. It is Super Tuesday today. And that means it's probably the end of Nikki Haley's political career. We'll talk about that when we come back. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about the October 7th massacre that took place, where there are actual people, some on the left, sadly, who are describing the October 7th massacre as armed resistance, which is unbelievably disgusting. We'll get to that as well. And on a Super Tuesday, I believe the polls are opening here in a few hours, and we'll have all that coverage for you as well. We'll take a quick break, and phone lines if you'd like to be a part of the show. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with calls after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
I'm Eva Chase.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
I'm Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16. Former Lieutenant Governor candidate, Progressive Independent Democrat, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, fully transitioned transgender woman. I support women's rights and veterans and unions and other progressive ideas. Please donate to my campaign on Spot Fund and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Stay progressive, everybody.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign Bot Fund account and stay progressive.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Super Tuesday. Programming note, tomorrow on the show, former Nevada Republican Chair Amy Tarkanian will be joining us. So that certainly should be interesting. And, of course, we'll be reviewing and talking about Super Tuesday. I personally believe it's going to be the end of Nikki Haley's political career. At least that's my personal opinion. Everyone out of the way. It's Trump versus Joe Biden. And we are slowly but surely approaching November. I do disagree with Democrats here, and I like Jamie Raskin a lot. I think he's a good man, and he's a fighter for democracy, and I appreciate him very much. But I think Jamie Raskin and the Democrats are making a mistake. There's a reason why Jack Smith did not charge Donald Trump with insurrection, and it's not because I feel like Donald Trump is certainly at least partially responsible for what took place on January 6th. Why? Well, if he didn't lie about the election, he didn't say it was stolen, didn't say the Democrats cheated, January 6th doesn't happen, right? And the argument I hear from a lot of people on the right is, well, the president has a right to his opinions. Well, yeah, but you have to have some evidence and some proof to back up what you're saying, especially when you're a former president. You know, you can't just say things and throw it at a wall and hope it sticks because you're a sore loser. And that's why January 6th happened. But there's a reason why Jack Smith didn't go after Donald Trump for that, because it's very difficult to prove in a courtroom. And I respect Jack Smith, and I know that he knows what he is doing. So with that being said, Jamie Raskin, and I want to play you a little bit of audio on this. Jamie Raskin is saying that Democrats are going to do everything they can do to revive this bill that would disqualify insurrectionist presidents from serving. So here it is. This is Jamie Raskin making that case, and I respectfully disagree with him on it.
Congress to enforce it. I disagree with that interpretation just because the other parts of the 14th Amendment are self-executing. People can go to court and say that something violates equal protection, even if there's not a federal statute that allows them to do that. But in any event, the Supreme Court punted and said it's up to Congress to act. And so I am working with a number of my colleagues, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Eric Swalwell, to revive legislation that we had to set up a process by which we could determine that someone who committed insurrection is disqualified by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And the House of Representatives already impeached Donald Trump for participating in insurrection by inciting it. So the House has already pronounced upon that, and there was also a 57-43 vote in the Senate. The question is whether Speaker Mike Johnson would allow us to bring this to the floor of the House.
Of course, Speaker Mike Johnson will not allow that to happen because he wears the Donald Trump knee pad. So that's to answer Jamie Raskin's question. And by the way, he knows that. That's number one. What Democrats need to focus on is making sure that Joe Biden is prepared and ready to go and show to the American people that he is competent and ready. I believe he is. But you have to convey that to a lot of the American people that do not believe Joe Biden is up for the job. I picked Joe Biden over Donald Trump in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong. But if Democrats want to try to focus on, getting Trump off the ballot as the insurrection man, then I think they're going down the wrong rabbit hole here. And I think they need to focus on other issues. Listen, if I was the head of the DNC, which clearly I'm not even a registered Republican, but if I was, start with the abortion issue and the fact that Republicans want to make it criminal for a woman what to do with her own body when it comes to abortion. You have to lay that home. That's number one. You have to talk about Donald Trump and be aggressive with not just the 91 felonies that he's facing, but the threat to our democracy, January 6th, the fact that he still says we won the 2020 election. And then you have to run on Joe Biden's record. I know that Republicans have trouble spelling the word fact, but the fact of the matter is that the economy has been on the upswing. Inflation way down in the last several years. Unemployment rates way down. Lowest they've been in over 50 years. Okay? Wages up. NASDAQ up. Okay, so manufacturing jobs way up. So you have to run on your record. Gas prices have been continuing to go down. I mean, I remember it cost like $85 for me to fill my tank. $47 today it cost me to fill my tank. Okay, gas prices have been continuing to go down. And if they want to blame Joe Biden for everything, just ask them where the economy was where Donald Trump left it off. That's all. 702-221-7283. I know some Democrats might disagree with me on that. I like Jamie Raskin. I have the utmost respect for him and his family. I appreciate him. I just happen to disagree with him on this. I think this is going down the wrong rabbit hole, and it's not going to get the Democrats anywhere. They need to focus on how do we defeat Donald Trump, which inevitably in November I do believe they do. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Dylan. Dylan is next up on Pushing Limits. Hi, Dylan.
Hello. Hi. I believe we talked before. I believe we got disconnected. You know what? Actually, I actually agree with you on that. On this, you know what? For once, we actually agree on something.
So what's the biggest thing that you disagree with me on this show?
No, I said agree.
I know
agree.
that. I appreciate. That's cool.
I agree with the Jamie Raskin thing
I hear you. My question to you is this. What is the biggest issue you have with me that you disagree with me on? Like, what would be the number one thing?
Okay, so the issues that I have is talking points. And what I mean by talking points is about, you mentioned about January the 6th.
That's not a talking point. That January 6th is not a talking point.
No, it was an insurrection. Wait. January 6th was a so-called insurrection.
I don't care. Dylan, I don't care whether you characterize it as an insurrection or a riot.
It wasn't.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's not a talking point. Okay, sir, it doesn't matter what you characterize it as, okay? People died that day. Hold on. People died that day, and it was an embarrassing day for the country.
Yeah,
so
Ashley Babbitt.
Okay, it wasn't just Ashley Babbitt that died. There were other people that were injured and died. Months later, there were several officers that committed suicide. Their families said they were never the same after that day. 140 exactly. 140 officers were injured that day. So we agree. So it doesn't matter. It's not a talking point when I talk about January 6th. January 6th happened.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold up. So do you agree? So January 6th is a bad day. We all condemn this, Republicans, Democrats.
Okay, so why is it a talking point? So why is it a talking point?
Okay, that's your opinion. Can we agree?
No. You said it was a talking point. Why is it? Go ahead.
Can we agree or disagree that the same Democrats that talk, obsess, and regurgitate January 6th and mention January 6th, why they haven't? Can we both agree that Democrats should, and mostly Republicans, actually condemn violent behavior from Black Lives Matter, pro-Palestine, and pro-abortion groups. And, some of the Democrats that have condemned, who actually went and screamed out nonsense about that's like, the same thing that they outrage about Trump implying violence.
I'm having trouble following you, but go ahead.
All
right, so hold on. Let's backtrack, Dylan. Let's disagree. Okay, so let Dylan. Dylan,
should
hear me
be held
out.
to the same standard.
Okay, so Dylan, you lost me there. Let's try to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
I asked you where you disagree with me on, and you said January 6th as a talking point. Hold on. January 6th is not a talking point. I don't care, quite frankly, whether people label it an insurrection or a terrible riot. The bottom line is, and let me ask you this question now, if Donald Trump doesn't say the 2020 election was stolen, and he doesn't say that the Democrats cheated, does January 6th happen, yes or no?
Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be perfectly honest, and probably you're not going to agree with me on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We could go on about the 2020 election and a lot of things that happened.
I'm not asking you to go on about the 2020 election. I asked you a very direct question. Hold on. Let me. Dylan,
However,
I'm not
I know
asking.
what you're trying to say.
Okay, so just tell me yes or no. Why can't you just answer it?
Okay. I think if it would have been actually something that actually a fair election, if it would have been a little fair election, and we wouldn't have the issues that we.
Bottom down, sir. You're doing what these MAGAs do, with all due respect. You're not answering my question. First of all, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. I'm not even going to have that conversation with you. I'm asking you a very direct question. And I'm going to ask it again, if Donald Trump didn't say the election was stolen constantly, he still does today, by the way, and if he didn't say that Democrats cheated and Joe Biden was illegitimate, does January 6th happen? It's a very simple question, and I believe it comes with a very direct answer. Can you please answer that question for me, sir, if you can?
If he got 81 million votes, then there's nothing to be worried about.
Sir,
and I do agree. He should be in the ballot box.
Sir, I hate to break it to you. Sir, but there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. And again, that was not my question. Sir, I'm not interested, sir, with all due respect, I'm not interested in getting into a debate with you on who won the 2020 election, because quite frankly, anybody with an IQ over 20 knows the answer to that question. Donald Trump lost a free and fair election. There's no evidence that proves otherwise. Again, that wasn't my question, and you're not answering my question, which is very frustrating. The question wasn't about your opinions on the 2020 election. The question was about January 6th, which you brought up in this conversation, not me. And I'm going to ask it one more time. I don't care what your opinions are in the 2020 election. The question is, wait for it, because I'll ask it again. If Trump doesn't say the election was stolen, and he doesn't say that the Democrats cheated, does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
I'm going to answer your question before, okay? So, number one, it's a presidential, okay? I think President Trump was saying his opinion, and yes, he's entitled to his own opinion. And yes, look, so most of the time I don't agree with Trump on the vaccine thing and all that. That's beyond the point. Number two, okay, I'm going to use the same thing. When Democrats claimed 2016 was stolen, and
not true. Pot him down again. Boy, you are just full of misinformation. Hillary Clinton conceded the following day. You have absolutely no idea what you are talking about. There was no Democrat-led insurrection. Hillary Clinton conceded the next day. There weren't marches from Democrats that said that the Republicans cheated. Either you are completely lying or you are uneducated. That is not happening. That did not happen. Hillary Clinton conceded. What the hell are you talking about? Why is it that I have to ask you questions, you MAGAs, multiple times, and you can't answer a very direct and simple question? It's very hard to have a conversation with you, sir, Dylan, with all due respect, when you can't answer a question directly when I ask it 3 times. So now I'm going to answer it for you. If Donald Trump didn't lie and say the election was stolen, if he wasn't a sore loser, and he didn't say Joe Biden cheated, Ashley Babbitt's still alive. Several officers who's committed suicide are most likely still alive. Those officers wouldn't have been injured, and many people wouldn't be behind bars right now because Donald Trump lied. And it's not my fault that you are delusional and you think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. He didn't. The earth is not flat. It's round, sir. Yes, you are entitled to your opinions, but you're also not entitled to your own facts. I appreciate the call, Dylan. You can call back anytime. I would just suggest next time you come on the show, when I ask you a direct question, with all due respect, if you can try to answer it and not have to ask the question 4 different times. Are you noticing a trend here, ladies and gentlemen, when the MAGAs call in? They won't answer a direct question. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Roy?
Hello, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good, man. What's on your mind?
Do you have a headache yet?
A little bit. Why is it that I have to ask these MAGAs questions over and over, and they just won't give me a direct answer? It's unbelievable.
You answered your question. They have to have an IQ over 20.
Yeah, you're right.
I heard what Jamie Raskin said. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Okay. I mean, there's too much crap going on. You don't have to waste your time with stuff that can't happen.
Right.
But I find it interesting that one of the things that the Supreme Court said was, and I understand they didn't want all these different states to kind of determine who is going to win the election.
Yep.
Which is exactly why they need to get rid of the Electoral College, because it's only a handful of states that determine who wins the election.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of hearing the Republicans talk about state rights, because the same thing with abortion. How can you have each of these 50 states with different laws when you go from one state to the other? There's no wall between all our states.
Yeah.
It's insanity. You need to have laws for the country, not for the state, not in a case like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I agree with you. It is a waste of time. I think the Democrats and Jamie Raskin, I think that they're making a mistake. What they need to do is they need to focus on the message moving forward. And Joe Biden needs to, quite frankly, to prove to a lot of people in this country that he is still up for the job. I mean, listen, I think he's up for the job, and I'll take him over Donald Trump in a heartbeat, and I know you will as well. But they need to convey that to those that are on the fence, and that's what they should focus on.
I agree. But part of the problem is that the people who support Trump watch Fox News.
Well, they're cultists. They're cultists. I mean, they're cultists. Just listen to the MAGAs that call into this show.
I know.
They're lunatics. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
It's absolutely mind-boggling. But these are not people. What amazes me is their biggest support base is uneducated people on the lower chain.
Right.
And yet this is the same politicians who don't want to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour.
Right.
They cry about inflation, but they won't raise the minimum wage from $7.25. A lot of the things that they do just are the complete opposite of helping the people who need the most help.
Right.
And these are the people who tends to support them. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
you're right.
frustrating.
You're right. It's very frustrating. And, it's okay to disagree with people, right? I mean, I do it every day. I mean, I don't mind disagreeing with people, but when people just don't have facts, and like the last guy who called in, I mean, he seemed like a nice guy, but I mean, when he calls in and he tries to say that in 2016, Democrats say that the election was stolen, I'm sure you could find a handful of people that might have said that, but Hillary Clinton never said the election was stolen. She conceded the next day, and it's idiotic. And when I ask somebody a basic question, if Donald Trump didn't lie about the 2020 election, does January 6th happen? Of course January 6th doesn't happen. They did it because of Donald Trump and his lies. And the fact, if you can't even answer a simple question like that, how can we have any conversation with any sort of intelligence at all? I asked Larry Elder that question. Guess what? He wouldn't answer because he's a coward. He came on this show and he tried to defend Trump. And I said, if Trump didn't say the election was stolen, does January 6th happen? Larry Elder wouldn't answer the question because he's a coward. That's why.
Look at more than half the politicians who are Republicans won't answer that question. But they didn't feel that way on January 6th and 7th.
No, Mike McCarthy said it himself. He said Donald Trump bears
short memories.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy said, or Kevin McCarthy. I'm sorry, did I say Mike McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy. He said it himself. He said that Donald Trump bears some responsibility. So I'm with you, my man. I appreciate the call.
Yeah,
and we're going to continue continue to be frustrated.
One other thing But one other thing I wanted to mention, you can disagree on policy all you want.
Sure.
But you have to look at the character of the person.
Absolutely.
And when you look at Donald Trump, I can't think of any good characteristic. Even he calls Nikki Haley bird brain. Now, he may be right, but he still shouldn't call her that.
I agree with you.
He has no respect for anybody.
I agree with you. I think from some women's perspective, I'll give you a positive, okay? Donald Trump probably hasn't seen his penis in decades and decades and decades. And I think to most women in this country, they would find that to be a positive. I'll leave you with that. Okay, Roy? All right. Thanks for the phone call. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ray. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Who do we have next here? Let's see. We have Mike. Mike, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Mike Oxball, the American Patriots. I'll answer your questions. I'm a MAGA supporter.
Okay.
About the January 6th question.
Sure.
If Donald Trump didn't say all that, no, we wouldn't have shown up. He called us all to come there.
Right.
Most of us went, and
I appreciate
no, it wouldn't have
I
happened.
appreciate your honesty. That was the answer I was looking for. I mean, it's a pretty simple one, right, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's simple enough. I mean, but I saw voter fraud in my own city in Philadelphia. I was in there waiting to vote, and I saw a man grab his ballot, go out to vote, and of course, no voter ID needs to be shown. He grabs his ballot and reaches his hand in his pants and pulls out feces and wipes feces all over the ballot.
Okay, so obviously, Mike, that is somebody that is mentally ill, and it's anecdotal evidence of somebody that did something that was terrible. But, Mike, there's a fine line between you seeing somebody that acts in a certain way and overturning the outcome of an election. Surely you would agree with me that there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Well, I mean, they counted those votes as Trump votes because they said Donald Trump's a piece of shit.
Okay, so please watch the language. Okay, that's number one. We're on a live radio show. If this is a serious phone call, Mike, and I hope that it is, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And that only thing that could overturn the outcome of an election. Donald Trump's own attorneys had opportunities in court to show it, and they were unable to show it, and MAGA supporters out there turned to the MyPillow idiot for answers on how the election was stolen. How has that turned out for you? Mike, you're not making the case on this show today that you believe Donald Trump won, correct?
Of course he won.
Okay, so where's the evidence, Mike? Because you saw somebody spreading feces, that means that Donald Trump won? Where's your evidence, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so where's your evidence, Mike?
Mike Landau, Rudy Giuliani all told us.
So because a drug addict and a guy that just filed for bankruptcy tells you something, you believe it. Is that what you're saying, sir?
But that's not even what I wanted to ask you about.
But that's something that I want to ask you. You just said that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and you turned to Rudy Giuliani, who probably is going to go to jail, who's a proven liar, and the drug addict himself, Mike Lindell, who also just filed for bankruptcy. Obviously, Mike can't have a conversation because he hung up the phone. For the record, I did not hang up on Mike. What would you say the average IQ of a MAGA supporter that's called into the show today is? Can I ask? I want to ask Justin. Justin, by the way, is our producer. We call him Numchuck here, and Numchuck does a fantastic job in answering phone calls and dealing with some people. How have the calls been today, by the way?
Insane.
Okay. What would you say would be the average IQ level of a MAGA supporter that's called into this show today?
2 tops.
2. Wow,
2.
That's pretty low. Wow, I was going to say like 10. Wow, that's pretty low, man. Numchuck, by the way, does a great job answering and screening the phone calls. There's only so much he could do on this show. Should we take a few more phone calls before we go to break? All right, let's do that. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Lori. Lori's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Hey.
Well, for the majority of your callers today, here's what happens. They fill out an intelligence questionnaire. They put it into a scanner, and it comes up no result.
Yeah, I mean, get out your PTL bingo cards because I'm going to use the term buffoon. I don't think I've used that yet today. A lot of buffoons on the far right that call in. I enjoy interviewing people that I disagree with, but it just seems to me that some of the people that are calling in today might not be the brightest bulbs on the planet. That's all. But we still take their phone calls.
Wow.
I'm happy to ask them.
Not even.
What's frustrating is they won't even answer a question. That's what frustrates me. Like, I'm asking you a direct question, and they won't answer. That's what's frustrating to me. I'll answer any direct question that anybody asks me, but they just won't answer a question, and that's what's frustrating.
Right, and they can't even follow the day. What we're actually talking about is just the same.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 or 4 things they say.
Off topic. I'll ask them about the January 6th insurrection, and they'll say, well, the Democrats did the same thing. I mean, it's really it's comical. The earth is not flat. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, and you all need to go back to school and get your GED. Not you, Lori.
No, I understand. So, well, I wanted to talk about Jamie Raskin too.
Yeah.
We got to look at what their position right now. They know nothing they do is going to get that through until November. You know.
Yeah.
Nothing. They could stand on their heads and spin bottles. Nothing they do is going to get pushed through.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. But I just think the Democrats are making a mistake.
To go after and I think he was also signaling to Colorado.
Yep.
It's like, wait, the Supreme Court said you got to have an impeachment. Well, we had an impeachment.
Well, Lori, I
he
hear
was
you.
actually impeached for that.
So, Lori, I hear you. I don't disagree with you. I just think this is the wrong rabbit hole for Jamie Raskin and the Democrats to go to because
But there's nothing else for them to do.
I understand.
You know?
I just think that focus on Joe Biden winning, put their time more towards that and sending that message. Then we need to get him off the ballot. Lori, I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you so much for calling in. Okay.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, Lori. Thank you. 702-221-7283. Patrick is next on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Patrick. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Brian, you said you would be willing to answer a question, man. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Is suicide an act of violence?
Is suicide an act of violence? And this pertains to what? Officers, January 6th? What are you pertaining this to? In which situation are you directing it to?
The majority of all so-called gun violence is
okay.
Suicide.
So Patrick,
is suicide an act of violence?
So Patrick,
if it's not, why are they included?
So Patrick, I will still answer your question, but next time you call in, I would appreciate it if you could actually be on topic because we talk about guns a lot on this show. We haven't talked about guns today, so I find it a little bizarre that you asked me that question out of nowhere. So next time you call in, if you could be on topic, I would appreciate that. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So I would say that there are different forms of gun violence. Now, if you're trying to make the argument, which I believe you are, that the gun violence rates in this country are high, which they were during the pandemic. A lot of people were committing suicide during the pandemic.
Answer my question.
Okay, I am not done answering your question. I need you to listen.
It's a yes
I am
or
not
no
done.
answer.
No, it's not.
It's a yes or no.
Yes, I consider people who commit suicide to be a form of gun violence. How does that pertain to anything that we've talked about today? Anything.
I'm trying to make the point of.
I'm trying to make the point that you're off topic. I answered your question. What does that pertain to anything that we've talked about on the show today? We've talked about Super Tuesday. We've talked about January 6th. I've given my criticisms of Democrats and Jamie Raskin. We've talked about Nikki Haley. I answered your question. Now answer mine. What does your question have anything to do with what we've talked about on the show today?
Well, it's a political year. All you want to do is talk about.
It's a political year. Okay, Patrick, let me explain to you something. You don't run this show, and when you call into a show, you're on topic. And if you're not on topic, I'm going to do to you what I'm going to do to anybody right now, and that's hang up the phone. Next time you call into the show, come up with a better question that's actually on topic. But I also understand that you're a MAGA supporter, so you're a little slow. Holy smokes. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Davenport, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Davenport.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. A little frustrated, but I'm okay. What's going on?
Yeah, I was just thinking you had a guy to call in and said he went to the January 6th rally. I don't know. My mind was saying, well, maybe his name need to be sent to the FBI.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between going there and then entering the Capitol. But I would say this, if you traveled really far to hear Donald Trump speak, then, I think it says a lot about who you are as a human being. I'll say that.
True.
Yeah, but listen, if you didn't break the law and you just went there to hear the president speak, while I probably disagree with you politics and policy-wise, as long as you didn't break the law, then I have no problem with it, right? As long as you're peacefully protesting. But it's the people that broke the law that day are the ones that I call domestic terrorists.
True.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
I heard that they passed a bill that you cannot get within 14 feet of the police or either what other emergency workers or like the firemen. You cannot get within 14 feet of those people when they're doing their job. But with the police.
Yeah, that might be true. I don't know. I haven't heard of that, but I would certainly support it.
I support it, but
Yeah.
I don't know about supporting as far as the police goes.
Well, I can tell
Cause
you
they
this: nobody wants to go within 14 feet of Donald Trump because he smells very bad. That's the rumor that's being put out there. I don't know if it's true or not because I've never been within 14 feet of him. But I heard there's a rule with women; they don't want to be within 14 feet of him, especially if he takes his shirt off. But I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know if that's true or not. But that's maybe allegedly Melania Trump said that. I don't know if that's true. It is good to hear from you,
could be.
It might be.
You too.
Davenport, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, if you'd like to watch the rest of the show, you got to go on my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. It's the sports segment of the show. At PTL Radio Show is where you can subscribe to my YouTube page for free. We also ask you subscribe to the Occupy Democrats page on Facebook. It's only $5 a month. It's a cup of coffee. You can follow me on all forms of social media, X, Facebook, particularly YouTube. We want to drive the YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, where we will continue the rest of the show on there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Be the first to experience.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.